Stakeholders have many ideas about the various forms of consolidation and their implications. Some of the ideas are based on fact and experience, whereas others are based on emotion, anecdote, and advocacy. As a result, many misconceptions exist.
Certainly, there were a lot of misperceptions. There was a lot of concern, misinformation, a misunderstanding about what we were trying to accomplish. The unions were involved. The unions went out to the community to voice their opinion. I think that swayed some people. There were some comments made on the political end of the spectrum that did not help with the initiative when we tried to pass the vote with the community. And so at the end of the day, the misinformation was very detrimental to the efforts to combine services.
I think probably the biggest misconception is that number one, that services are there's gonna be a fall in services. Services are gonna be provided less. The response times are gonna be slower. That you're not going to have as much access to police agencies. And I think, research bears that out. In some ways, it's just the opposite happens. It'd be some more efficient, more effective.
The police were much more accepting of this public safety concept than the fire department was. And I think I can explain that simply because the police numbers stayed relatively static because we have a high volume for calls for service for police. We are a high volume calls for service for fire, but you can't compare the two. And because they hired a former police chief, I think that made some of the fire staff a little nervous.
The biggest misconception was that my intent is to go over and make it a public safety department, purely, fully functional public safety department. And I've been in my position for about 5 years now, and that has not happened. And so I have members on both sides that have asked if that's the direction they want to go, and they show interest in going that direction, but I told them right from the beginning that was not my intent.
Well, I think one of the big concerns is that lots of people will lose their jobs. My sense is that really hasn't happened very much. In fact, in many cases, the contracting, for example, results in kind of a job increase, in part because usually by the time a community is ready to enter into a contract, they've reduced their resources so much that almost everybody who still has a job and a few who lost their job get their jobs back.
I think there is a misconception that you're going to lose control of your agency. Most police agencies aren't under anyone's control anyway. You enforce the law according to the law and according to the needs of the community. And when you allow politics to mingle with law enforcement, it's a slippery slope.
One of the misconceptions about contracting is that you lose your identity, that you become a number instead of a real identity. And I think overall, sheriffs are aware of that, and they need to constantly be working on the fact that there is customer service involved, they're not just a number, and that we do have to provide good service to our customers.
Well, I think there's a lot of misconceptions, and I think one of them that we have kind of fought is that citizens feel that when you have 2 or 3 deputies assigned to this particular township, they think that these deputies are going to respond from all over the county back into their township and then leave again. And our county is 750 miles, and when you contract with a township, you stay in that contracted township. You don't leave. You own it. And you're not being pulled out to go to other calls. You're not just showing up when you're needed. You're there all the time.
So their fear was I would take my pet department, the police, who I trained for 13 years, and say, we're already working, we can do your job. Your job's a piece of cake. See you later. So their paranoia was that that's what I would do because I couldn't talk to them. In addition to that, it was really fueled by the secrecy, because during the whole process, there was a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff with the city manager and the city council, and it took, after that broke, it took almost a year before we were able to actually put the pieces together to make it work, where we could dialogue and make things happen.
There are many misconceptions about consolidation and contracting. Research and analysis can help to illustrate how these efforts work and facilitate fact-based discussion.